Throughout history, many societies have developed and created learning through the use of oral narratives, or what we like to call storytelling, to create and strengthen relationships, those bonds with family members and communities. So, as we focus in on listening with attention and intention this week, we'll learn from others' experiences and their emotions. And with this knowledge gained from our listening from past generations, I hope that you'll find comfort in the fact that you're able to be a part of something that was there before you and will be here long after us. In the academic world, storytelling studies are found across a wide variety of programs, such as communication, theater, performance studies, and even education. And it's all because storytelling is magical, because it directly taps into so many different fields. It functions as either like a written narrative that we find in print, books, or as oral narratives, or what I call stories. And those are what live in our conversations and in our memories because they're often not written down, and they come alive through our voices or our bodies as we tell those stories. These stories, they make life coherent. It gives us a sense of who we are and where we've come from, and they give us a picture of the future that we can either work towards or avoid. Hopefully not, but maybe. Anyways, stories, they also question life as it forces us to reflect on ourselves, or in other words, it helps us get a handle on ourselves and allows us to recognize our own stories and help us pinpoint things that we can possibly change. So, to understand storytelling a little bit better, we need to look at it through the process of crafting the story and what is often called the storytelling triangle. So, in your reading this week, or actually listening from Hannah B. Harvey in The Act of Storytelling, she shares that telling a story is a three-way relationship, that it involves the story, the audience, and you. And these 3 points of storytelling, or the triangle, they represent not only connections, but lines of communications. And notice that they're not just one way, like it's got the arrows and they move around. So as we interact with each part of the storytelling triangle, our stories survive. And they only survive by this relationship with the tellers and the audience. So as you work through the 3 parts of the triangle, I think it allows you to make your stories personal. And I think that means a lot to us this week because as we work through our Ask Gramps assignments, maybe just start asking yourself, how does the person that you're listening to make their story personal? How does their personal touches, their experiences make the difference? What meaning does it bring to the story? These personal experiences, they're what give credence to everything. They lend weight, they give gravitas, and they create the reality that we're trying to tell, or I guess listening to. So as you connect with your audience, you're constantly creating these moments of communications, that communication. It's your ability to reach out and draw people in with the story that you're telling because you are the instrument. You're the instrument, and you draw them in with your words, with your silence, my favorite part, and with your movements. And that's the whole point of storytelling because you want to make the connection with who you're talking to. So in this modern world, I think the way that we best connect with our audience is through the camera, through digital media. And I think it's important, or this is why I think it's important that we get comfortable looking down the barrel of the camera. Things that I think help me is just, I imagine that I'm talking to an actual person. In fact, sometimes on my little camera, I usually put a picture of my oldest daughter, Madeline, because then I feel like I'm addressing everything to her. Like I can talk to my oldest daughter, I call her my little girl, and if you can successfully talk to one person, you can make that connection with that one person. The rest of your audience, as they view your video, will also be able to feel that connection and feel the meaning and the importance of what you're actually trying to tell. Because storytelling is important. That oral tradition of storytelling, it was like the building blocks of our civilization. Because in the early days, that's how all knowledge was passed down. It was through generations and generations of passing down these stories. Because these stories, as we tell these stories, that's what maintains our aspect of community in our lives. It's what connects us together. Because I only know who my ancestors are through the stories that my parents and other people in my community have told me. I know Like I didn't even know most of my family until I heard these stories. And I think that'll be the same for you as you connect with the person that you're talking to or listening to, you'll learn more about them and you'll create this sense of connection in this and almost like a feeling of pride as you retell their story to other people that mean something in your life. And I think as you start listening to their stories, you'll bring out the meaning or the points that you want to try to teach to other people. One of the greatest parts about storytelling is that there's nothing required to enjoy it. All you have to do is be present, be listening, and pay attention. There's no additional work to make the story stand out to you. You just have to pay attention to how the person, what they're saying, and how they're actually saying it. So take the time to sit with the oldest members of your family or your community and have them tell their stories so that they don't disappear. Because stories are only successful when they're shared. So remember, the importance of storytelling, it's to remind us of who we are, why we are here, and what's important to us. And the only way that we will really understand what those connections are is through communication, through sharing and telling these stories and passing them along to other people. So as an audience member, I think one of the greatest parts about that is that we get to be the beneficiary of all this wisdom, all that knowledge that was here in the past now comes into us, and that we can really start creating storytelling magic as we tell these stories to other people. Because that magic is the ability to capture attention and the imagination of the audience. And we'll command their attention through our inflection, our movement, our gestures, and even our silence. So as you journey through the storytelling process, I hope that you'll, really take the time to reflect on what it is that the person was sharing you, what meanings they were actually trying to express, and how you can take their experiences to teach other people in your community or even just yourself. So reflect on what you've learned, because I think that's where a lot of the knowledge comes from, through our reflection and our imagination, because that's our superpower. That's our communication superpower. So hopefully you have a great week, and I will talk to you soon. Adios.